Minisode.
Hello everyone, welcome back. I am your host, Ahmani Brown, and this is a Minisode. So, welcome to this little thing. It's just me this time. So let's get into some of the things that I've been up to this week, and some of the big things that got announced around this week as well. For this episode, a little late, but usually I try to grab whenever things happen, well, that we did get to talk about or things like that. You know the deal with the Minisodes. So, we're gonna get into it. Obviously, Castlevania Nocturne came out. We watched all of that. That's been pretty fire. Really like the direction it's going. Pretty sick so far. Highly recommend if you haven't been watching it. Can't really talk about Castlevania Nocturne. I kind of want to talk about that one more with the homies. Let them really dive into it. As much as I like Castlevania this season, for me personally, was good, but it didn't do too much that made me kind of get like hype, you know what I mean? There's really cool fights, really cool like action as always. It's Castlevania. It's good, right? We also had to jump into, we have the Daredevil Born Again trailer that popped up. That was super cool. Not even gonna front. Can't wait. Actually makes me super excited. For those that don't know, it dives into a bit of the story of Devil's Reign, which seems to be Devil's Reign and the Muse story seem to be the two things it's taking major inspirations from. So we have Kingpin as mayor doing his thing, which is hugely inspired by Devil's Reign. We'll see how that plays out. That's like that whole story, and I don't remember what it is called, like the Muse storyline is called, but with Muse being one of the main antagonists, expect this season to be dark. So considering that the two stories that they're picking are, one is a really good politically charged one, and the other one is a really good Daredevil story. Like, it's fascinating. It's dark though. I think Daredevil Born Again might actually be on the right track for a really, really good tone that keeps with the original series. So that looks really cool. Can't wait to see more of that. I would go into more detail about Devil's Reign himself, because that is one of my favorite Daredevil, like that run is Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil run. I've talked about that one being like amazing, genuinely a really cool Daredevil run, and that's a part of that. And Devil's Reign is just a really cool event that happens involving Kingpin becoming mayor and the consequences of that, where he tries to outlaw superheroes. It's really, really sick. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. What else did we have? Because I wanted to just jump around. We got some really cool Doom the Dark Age gameplay, which looks sick. It looks like Doom. Like, it looks like Doom, but with like other improvements. So the way they're doing it this time, from what I understand, is if the other games were more about being elusive, and I think the way they talked about it is like being elusive and jumping around, like, trying your best to kind of be a force of nature. Like, you're dodging, you're punching, you're like using the, like Doom 2 was specifically about using the cycle that existed, where you would, the economy in the game would be that you use your guns to weaken enemies, to do glory kills. You do glory kills so that you can get health. I think it was like, yeah, you do glory kills so you can get health, which lets you cool down your like fire bursts, like your little fire, flamethrower, which then gave you armor. So if you burn someone, it gave you armor. If you glory killed someone, it gave you health. And if you, I don't remember the last one. I think it's your grenades. Something about, no, chainsaw. It's your sword. That gave you ammo, was the deal. And so you had to cycle between these two to make sure everything was up. So it was really, really cool with that whole cycle. This one is about doing that as much. It's about standing your ground, from what I understand. So they're like, you fight. You are the wall that does not move. So you use your shield, like you bash things, you parry things, right? You push things forward. You are the aggressor, as opposed to being reactive towards the situation being given to you based on based on the actions that you're doing. So apparently they have like this very like I am the wall situation going in. I think that's pretty cool. Plus they took out the multiplayer that was in the previous two games. I mean, it's changed for each game, but they said that they did this mainly because they wanted to allow you guys to do some really cool stuff gameplay wise that they just didn't do. So obviously in the trailer, we get to use the mech. That's the biggest thing, right? And then the other thing is that like there's a Doom mech that was in the first game. You saw it like around in the first game, and the second game straight up just had the Doom mech, like it had his mech, the Doom guy's mech, and so it's like we're finally getting to use that. That's gonna be fun. And then the other thing was a dragon. Apparently, we just get a dragon bike thing that we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be Panzer Dragooning all over the place, and those two new modes that exist in the game kind of came at the cost of multiplayer, which to me it's fine because Doom, at least to me, was never really defined. I liked the Doom 1's multiplayer, but it was never defined by its multiplayer. It's a single player game, so making the single player experience even more better, awesome, right? Can't like have no complaints, genuinely. But it does give each game its own unique flavor, so I think that's kind of cool. And I think for me personally, the biggest announcement is Ninja Gaiden 4, right? They announced Ninja Gaiden 4 at the Microsoft. I almost forgot. So I gotta remember this one afterwards. But they announced Ninja Gaiden 4 at the Microsoft Developers Direct as well. During that, they also shadowed up Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which awesome game, super fun to play. A little weird, right? Technically speaking, Ninja Gaiden, and I'm gonna get into some minutia for Ninja Gaiden, right? So be prepared. But the way Ninja Gaiden works specifically is that the original Ninja Gaiden that came out on Xbox, the 3D one, right? So you had the old one that was like the 2D side-scroller ones that was really hard. They revamped it, made the new one. That one has two versions. It has Ninja Gaiden Sigma and Ninja Gaiden Black. Those two versions are different. There's no like definitive version of that game. Both good, but different, right? So Sigma is the one that came out on PlayStation and was available on other consoles and stuff like that. And Black is the one that is exclusive on Xbox, and that one still has a different feel to everything else, right? But both of the games are good. As that continued, they made Ninja Gaiden 2 and then Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma. But they never made Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, from what I understand. But the idea was that there was always supposed to be these two varying different versions. And they went on and made Ninja Gaiden 3. And Ninja Gaiden 3 was trash. And then they made Razor Edge. And Razor's Edge was good. That's how that works. But the crazy thing about it is they now decided to go back and do Ninja Gaiden 2 Black officially. But I will say this about it. Ninja Gaiden, the way the two versions work is that it was supposed to be two different directions that the base game had, or at least I should say that's how it was, right? When it comes to the new one that they shadow dropped, there is a weird situation in which the Ninja Gaiden Black is technically a revamped, more improved version of Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma, which is weird in its own right, because technically it's supposed to be going back to the base game. So it's got some fans in a tizzy, and I don't blame them, because, you know, if you're Ninja Gaiden purist and you were looking for like another, like you wanted a sequel to Black specifically, you're not getting that, right? But it is a better, from what I understand, it is a better version, but there's like certain things that are like weird, like the Statue of Liberty fight doesn't exist in the game, so I'm wondering if that's a licensing thing or something like that, but it's a thing, right? But really weird, but kind of cool. Game still feels good, runs good, looks great, right? Having fun with that one. That being said, it is a little odd in how they did things, but it is also a little bit of Ninja Gaiden's fault for like doing a weird system where you make two different versions of your base game that have very different things instead of just making it like iterative. You know what I mean? But big deal with Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma is that some of the changes that it makes to the original game people didn't like. It is good, but some people it's due to limitations, right? So the original Ninja Gaiden 2 had a lot of enemies with less health and things like that, just balancing things like that, different save point like areas, different boss fights. Some of those are just not present in Ninja Gaiden 2. They take enemies and make them more tankier because of console limitations at the time, and they make them tankier, but there's less enemies, right? So for this version of the game to be using the base of Sigma, it means that a lot of those issues that people had with between Sigma and Ninja Gaiden 2 is a little weird. People aren't really a fan of it that much, or at least those who really know, aren't really that much of a fan of it. But that being said, it's still Ninja Gaiden. It's still gonna be hard. It's still gonna be a fun time though. So it's enjoyable either way. But I wanted to just let people know that like it exists. Technically speaking, if you wanted to buy Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma, there's two options you have, which is you can get the collector's edition the collection edition that they already put out before, which revamps all the Sigma games specifically. Or you can get this one, which is technically an improved version of Sigma 2. And that's assuming you just want to play Sigma 2 and you don't care about the other two. So that's if you want to. That being said, back to the actual thing that like I'm super excited about. That's Ninja Gaiden 4. So we have a new protagonist. He looks cool. The game is being developed by both Team Ninja and Platinum, so that looks crazy. And we're taking place in like a future city, and Ryo Hayabusa, the ninja, the dragon ninja, he's in it as well. I think our new protagonist is Raven, right? So that's going to be kind of interesting in itself to just have a different Ninja Gaiden protagonist. I mean, the other games dabbled in letting you play as other people, especially like ones from DOA and stuff like that. So Rachel, Momiji, Ayane, like it was fun to have their cameo missions, but we have like a straight up another protagonist that's running through, and the levels will be split kind of a la Devil May Cry 4, actually, considering that it's Ninja Gaiden 4, hilariously enough. Probably not going to be running through the same levels, but having multiple protagonists running through and doing their thing. It looks really cool. I think aesthetically, personally, I think it's borrowing a lot from like, what's the name of the game? Ghost Runner. I think aesthetically it looks a lot like Ghost Runner, except it's Ninja Gaiden, so. But fingers crossed, it's coming out later this year. From what I remember, based on the trailers, if I remember correctly, it's coming out later this year. It has plans for 2025, so we'll be touching that later. But that one's cool. Ryu looks really cool. I like his armor design in this. I think Raven looks kind of sick as well. But that's also cool. The other thing that they talked about at that direct was South of Midnight, which I'm really excited for. Like, I'm really excited for. Okay, so like a huge thing about this game is that, obviously, it's one of my favorite locations that it's taking place in, which is New Orleans. I really like the idea of New Orleans as a video game location. I always have. Ever since like Numeray and Infamous 2. The fact that we just didn't get more games that took place in a setting like that, I'm like, bro, come on, man. There's gotta be something. So obviously with South of Midnight being the way it is, that one's looking really, really cool. I believe it's South of Midnight is the name of the game. I want to check just to be sure, because I know that there's, at the same time they announced two games that take place. Yeah, it is South of Midnight. Not only that, but it has like, okay, so from what I want to describe it, they say that it takes a lot of inspiration from like claymation with how it's animated, and I can see that definitely in some of like the monster designs, but I think overall with characters wise, huge inspirations from like obviously the Spider-Verse movies and how those originally moved as well, it plays into this. Now, someone might be saying, hey, wouldn't that choppy art style make it really hard to play an action game of this kind or an action RPG of this kind? Surprisingly, no, because even though the animations are taking place on that, the game's still running at 60 frames per second, which means that you should be able to cancel them out and do things like you should. It's just, it looks really nice. There's been like a lot of like stuff that goes into it. And she's a weaver. I like the idea of her hooks, little spindles, the things that she uses, like very Prince of Persia-esque like movement going on. It looks really cool. If you haven't looked at South of Midnight, it's probably one of the most interesting games that have come out in the past couple years. Just genuinely off of like art style and feeling alone. So I check it out. Someone's gonna say it's woke. I don't know why. Oh, which reminds me. Okay, so not to go into a complete anti-woke spiel, right? But each day we get closer to the idea that woke, as it is, it's losing its meaning, which it's both unfortunate because it's been twisted the way it has, and like fortunate at the same time because I'm tired of hearing about it on the internet. And those people that are always been on this anti-woke agenda have slowly started to realize that people are sounding really insane when they're like this. Well, the average person realizes that they're like insane. But one of the things is that apparently it's woke to have difficulty sliders. People are really upset about that. Well, some people were really upset about it in Doom the Dark Ages, which I was really confused about because difficulty sliders will work both ways. So like you can make the game harder for yourself if you want to, or you can make the game really easy for yourself if you want to. Some people were saying that that's lazy game design, but I'm confused because it actually takes more work to make it customizable. But you know, it's weird. I wanted to mention that, and like I feel like I should mention that because people are probably going to say the same thing about South of Midnight, which obviously has a black female protagonist, and everybody knows that if you have anyone of color or female, for some reason that instantly makes your game woke. I don't really know how that works, but either way, I highly recommend checking it out. I think it's darker tone. It has like this weird, I don't want to say Pixar, because Pixar's not the right word. It feels like a bit of a Disney, like a dark Disney movie a little bit, from what I can tell, just because of how fantastical the world seems to be and how interesting the art style and everything is going for it. I recommend just looking at a video. It's really cool. So South of Midnight, check that one out. I think that's it for things that like are in the news wise that like got announced that I wanted to talk about. I mean, like at the time of recording, Marvel Rivals is about to put out like 2 new costumes. So we have 3 new costumes. My bad. So there's the vampire event that's going on currently. There are 2 costumes that were, there's like four costumes that I think are missing, and they're putting out 2 of them along with a 3rd special one. So my boy Spider-Man's getting the Spider-Man 2 costume from the game. So like he's getting the advanced suit, which is gonna be kind of cool. We're getting the advanced suit, and then we're also getting, I think the next day or like literally the same day. It's a little weird on its phrasing. We're also getting Bucky's vampire event suit and Psylocke's vampire event suit, which is dope. The only one we're missing, I think, is Black Panther, and there's one other character, I'm pretty sure. I think there's 4, but we're definitely missing the Black Panther one, so that's going to be fun. We're going to get the Black Panther one soon. That'll be sick. But those 2 are coming out as a recording very, very soon. Also, get into what I've been playing our weeks and stuff like that. Playing a lot of Marvel Rivals, obviously. Trying to get good. Love the new Storm buff. Queen shit. We love it. That's just been awesome to keep playing that game. I'm so glad that it exists. We need to stream it. I just feel weird about trying to stream this one because like I'm not perfect at video games, but I don't think anybody's perfect at video games. But like we're just having fun half the time, and so as much as I want to stream it, because it'll be fun to just stream it for you guys and have fun, I'm also very much aware I'm not great. Like I'm good, I'm not great. I'm not gonna brag or anything like that. But like sometimes you get good games, you get bad games. I'm not something special at this. This is not what I'm not a hero shooter person. Besides this, like I enjoyed Overwatch and played a little bit, but like that's the deal. I'm not like you're not gonna be going into expecting like Necros quality. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna be the best Spider-Man that ever lived, nor will I be the best Storm or the best anything on here. Neither will our teammates, although I will argue that Aaron might be close to being really high up there with Hulk. I'm not gonna lie, he's really good with Hulk. Um, but we'll try to figure out something. We want to. We definitely want to. Um, I guess recently on the channel we did finish up the streams involving the Star Wars movies. So we have officially gotten through all of the Star Wars movies, and they're available as highlights. You guys can go watch on Twitch. That is twitch .tv/paperplayaction. You can watch us there. But we have all of those done, officially done. Some of us joined for the last couple ones because they were trash. Apparently we're gonna be jumping into Lord of the Rings soon because Danny didn't watch the last one, I'm pretty sure. So they'll be doing that. So that'll be fun. Obviously we've been playing Dead Space as well. Jumping into something else that we were doing. I personally have been just finished Wind and Truth, the newest Stormlight archive book. So that's fire. And I'm gonna go into a little rant about that one in a bit because I really like that one, but I also kind of want to do like a little bit of a spoiler thing for it. I'll let you guys know so that you guys can get out if you want to still hear about it. Well, if you want to still read about it or read it in itself, but I also kind of want to just mark out about some things that are in that one. I want to make sure I got everything in my week though before I actually dive into that one because that's gonna be fun. I'm trying to remember what else. We jumped around though. Gentry Chow, still fire. We watched some more episodes of that. Got really good. Still highly recommend checking that one out. So we're always going to be doing that. I'm trying to think, but I think that's about it for week-wise, because a lot of this stuff is just me revisiting stuff that I've always been reading it myself. I haven't jumped into too many new things while reading it. Freedom Wars is still fun. I'm enjoying that game. What else have I been playing? I just want to check. Oh yeah, Eternal Strands dropped today as well. Another one I want to stream. If I'm going to stream it, I'm probably going to just stream the opening hours or just some gameplay in it. Once I get to it, it's probably going to be a one-off stream. But I do want to stream Eternal Strands at some point. I just want to make sure I got to like a good point in the game to really like show it off, because that one's a cool one. It's like the Shadow of the Colossus game, with like open-ended kind of physics from what I understand. So like you use magic, right, to like freeze their legs. Like if you have like ice, you can freeze their legs and you can't move a leg, or and you climb up them and attack, or like you'll use boxes and things like that to kind of trip them up or knock them over, rip off parts of their armor. It's really cool, but you're a small little tiny person fighting giant constructs that seem to want to tower over you and destroy you. Really cool, really fun time. Looks super fun. So I would check it out. Eternal Strands was something I was also really excited for, and now that it's out, I'm like, bet, let's get into it. So those are another one. Yeah, no, I think that'll be it. So I'm going to put up the spoiler warning for you guys because I kind of want to talk a little rant about the Stormlight archives, and if you want to read the Stormlight archives, I highly recommend it. I'm gonna nerd out for a second, so just allow me to do that. So gonna talk about that in 3, 2, 1. All right. So if you're not gone now, I'm giving you slightly more time, but I'm going to start talking about it now. So I've been reading the Stormlight archives for a while now, and this is the newest book that came out so far. So this is Wind and Truth, and I'm gonna talk with the most of everything kind of being like understood that I can talk about it. But I am super excited. I've been super excited for these book series. I've enjoyed the Stormlight archives a lot, and I'm at a point where my current favorite character, who is Kaladin Stormblast, for those that don't know, has now ascended to a new level of badassery to me, And I'm just sitting there going like, damn, bro, we're not gonna see this nigga for a while. He's gone. Um, the biggest takeaway from this book is that both Dalinar and we will not be seeing any more Dalinar, from what I can tell. We might see echoes of him, but like as we know him, he seems to be dead. And Kaladin Stormless has become that dude. He is a herald. he is ascended, and will be and forevermore be on a level or a different plane in which we will no longer see him. I also like the fact that he has become a therapist, and he's going to be a therapist to immortal beings. That's hilarious to me. So he's now an immortal being that's going to be a therapist to other immortal beings. That's funny. Kind of makes sense as to why this character was never allowed to have anyone romantic. They played around with the idea of him being romantically involved with some characters. Ultimately, they have decided that that's not going to happen. So a time bubble dilation going on, which means that although it might seem like they might have to come back in like 1,000, 100 years, which might be the case depending on when they break, it does seem like, as far as things are considered, they probably won't be back for a while. They seem to have found a way to like fix the big problem with the heralds, where it's like every time that they go, they're being tortured, right? And so they seem to have done away with the idea that every time they die, they are tortured by at least sending their minds to a new location while their souls are there holding everything back, which I'm gonna be honest, kind of leads to the like, there's no way for the desolations. I was thinking about it. There's kind of no way for the desolations to come back. The Sprinter Forever protected, but there's like actually kind of no reason for them to break. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have a reason to, because they're not being tortured for like thousands and thousands of years. It's more so just them chilling in this mind palace where they get to talk and kind of work things out and see if things work out for them. Now, I'm wondering if the way this will work will it wind up with most of the characters being heralds, because Kaladin taking that step is really cool. I'm just confused as to where he goes from here. Like, he's gonna be badass. He's gonna be super good at fighting. He's gonna destroy. Speaking of heralds, they had a really cool thing, which I think is probably one of the most badass moments in the entire series so far, which is they had Talim, the one that was left behind. They had him fight in Azamir. So I guess I'll do like the basic premise of this book. So the basic premise of this book, because I'm kind of just throwing out stuff without context. So basically, Dalinar and the new Odium. Essentially, Taravangian has become the new Odium, the big bad god villain of this whole series, right? So that's a problem in itself, because we're talking about the man who jumps back and forth between genius and, well, emotionally intelligent, because that is actually what he's doing. He's going from intellectually intelligent to emotionally intelligent, back and forth, but whichever one happens, it takes from the other. So the more, intellectual he is, the less emotional he is, emotional intelligent he is. The more emotionally intelligent he is, the less intellectual he is. That being thrown into what is essentially hate incarnate and becoming just that, that's rough. That's like really bad. So with that being done, which was something that happened in the last book, this book involves them really discovering the fact that, well, Taravangian is Odium now, which is a big oh no. And it really plays into the idea of them actually doing the contest. There's a big loophole in the contest of champions, which essentially is, hey, whatever you're holding by the time the date comes means that that territory is what you keep, essentially. So this last, I think it's like 10 days, is a big scramble for as many areas as possible. So Taravangian is hitting them from every which angle at every allied country at the same time, and the troops at Thiru and our friends, our main cast, is like, oh shit, well, we have to to fight, right? We have to make sure we defend the areas that we can and try to keep what we can. So by the end of this story, the map for the world is very different now. With Bentley and her group actually, this one's the biggest one. Bentley and her group are the ones that actually maintain the area of the shrines. So I said shrines, Shattered Plains. So Shattered Plains was one of the places that they had to fight. They had to fight in Asia. They had to fight what's the other one? Yasna went to it. It's where Queen Fen is in charge of. They lost that one. That one was lost via a debate. Adolin went to the Aegis Empire, befriended the Emperor. Adolin, we're going to talk about him. Also badass. I like where they went with him. There are a new sect of not Radiants, which are known as the Unoath, that exists now. So that's a cool thing. There's something very new. I really like their faction. And while this is happening, Kaladin and Zeph are off to Shinovar, and we learn a lot about Zeph's backstory and where he's from. So that's fun. But they go off to essentially try to get the Heralds to chill, because Ishar is obviously going crazy, and Nail is on some bullshit, to be honest. No, Ishar is a problem. Nail is some bullshit. But so they're going to deal with that, and with the troops and Shallan being thrown into trying to deal with the last little bits of the Ghost Bloods that she can, right? While Dalinar is also scrambling by the end of this to try to essentially grab any type of information and power to try to deal with Odium, because obviously he has this contest of champions coming up in 10 days, and as much as he wants to try to like grab as many, like make sure as many places is protected, it's something to keep in mind that he does have to deal with Odium at the end of this, and if he can't beat him, that's a problem. So although I'm in spoilers, I'm not gonna spoil the results. Actually, I kind of did earlier, but I'm not gonna spoil too much of the book. I do want you guys to go read it, but I am really excited about like how this played out. I think a lot of this simultaneous chaos was awesome. I think Taravangian is a great villain, because they really played into the idea that this nigga can be everywhere at once, right? He can kind of be anywhere and everywhere at once. So there's multiple scenes and things happening where he is keeping them at bay by him, like almost by himself. Like there's a debate that he has with Yasna pretty early on that, like, well, not early, but in the book, that's like pretty good. While also at the same time he is accosting some people who have made it to the spiritual realm. I'm not gonna go into that one too much. We have everything that's happening with Jeannot. We're finally diving into her, really, and like some of the Spren stuff that like we kind of know, like the Unmade that are existing and doing stuff in the background for a while. Kind of diving into them, and I really like it. I'm trying to think of what else that we dove into too. Like I said, the new Unoath faction that exists, led by Adolin, really fucking sick. I really like that. It's a huge part because I really like Shardplate, and like as the series has continued, Shardplate has become more irrelevant. Although, like, obviously as you go up in Radiant stature, you get your own Shardplate, right? But Shardplate is like one of the coolest things that they introduced in the beginning of the series, and becoming Radiant has kind of overshadowed that. And I was always wondering if we're gonna like talk more about people who have plate, or if there's other methods of power, which it does seem to. Brandon Sanderson loves to have like just systems on systems. So like there's a bunch of other powers that exist. It's just not clear as to why they exist. We got to see more of Cultivation doing stuff, so that's really cool. I wish we could have dove into Cultivation's faction a little bit more. She clearly had her own stakes in this, and had things prepped that I'm like, oh man, that seems really cool. Can we talk about that a little bit? We'll probably get more of that later down the line, but the book definitely puts us in a very different position than we initially were. By the end of it, we have some characters who I will say have like really badass endings to their stories. Like I mentioned, Kaladin being one of the main ones. Obviously, if he does come back, he comes back really cool, but unfortunately, he's probably not going to be able to interact with everybody as much like in the way he used to. If he doesn't come back, I feel like it's pretty appropriate that his character went on to become this, right? I think the same. I'm wondering where Zeph is going to be, because it seems like from a little bit of the excerpts in the books, he's just going to be to himself now. He finally gets to stop fighting, from what I understand, which is really nice. I'm trying to think of who else in that book. Salon has finally come to terms with all of herself, and I am appreciating that. We also learn a big thing about her that I'm not going to spoil. I want people to figure that one out on themselves. We find out a big thing about her, and I love the fact that it's a thing. I think it's super cool. But I think that's one of the cooler ones. I mentioned it. Jasna, we get a nice little bit with her character. I feel so bad. We get to actually see like what it's like for her to fail, because Jasna's kind of been like that bitch the whole time. Like no one can touch her. She's kind of her, and kind of seeing her being a little bit more vulnerable in this book has been really cool. I think it's really, really fun, which is really weird because she was like, in the third book was supposed to be, I think it's the third book, was supposed to be hers, right? I think it's the third book. It's either the third book or the fourth book. But the third book, I believe, was supposed to be her book, and I don't think we really got that much from her. I feel like we got more from her in this one, or sort of different side of her, more different sides of her in this book than any other one. That being said, I think I've ranted on. This is a lot of incoherent stuff that I've kind of spatted at you if you don't know anything about the series. That being said, I recommend going to check it out. Anyway, like the entire series is really fun. One of my favorite ones. Like I said, Brandon Sanderson's work is just really cool. I've been basically making my way through them as I read, like as I've really been journeying into reading and doing stuff like that. I think that this current book has more connections to other stuff outside than any of his other works in the Stormlight Archives. Like it's finally like connecting to everything else in ways that it's kind of interesting. I like how you keep saying this is the halfway point. This is like book 5. This is either book 5 or book 6. I think it's book 6 because he has 4 more books left. It's a 10-book series. He has 4 more books, so that's gonna be funny. But this is the halfway point. If it's book 5, it's genuinely the halfway point. If it's book 6, I'm kind of like, how is this the halfway point? But we'll see. I'm assuming that the next 4 that he mentioned are supposed to be really big, so that's gonna be really fun. Can't wait for those, genuinely so. Look forward to those. And I think that'll do it for this minisode, because I did say it was gonna be a minisode. So we'll catch you all later. Do the things that I usually tell you guys to do, which is, this is for those that don't remember, and also for those who are new, you can follow us on Twitter, the app formerly known as Twitter. You can follow us on Blue Skies and Threads, which is paper_action. We'll be there, paper_action. You can follow us there. We'll do updates and stuff like that for stuff. Like we'll let you guys know when we're streaming and things of that nature. And that'll be spread amongst all of those. You can also follow us on Twitch. That's Paper Play Action. On Twitch, it's twitch.tv/paperplayaction. That's the actual thing. And then if you have questions for us and things that you want to ask us, we'll answer it on here. You can send that to paperplayaction@gmail.com. That's paperplayaction@gmail.com. The number one thing that we really want you guys to do is to spread the love. Talk about the show, let other people know about it, so that other people can enjoy the things that you enjoy, and we can also enjoy the fact that you guys enjoy the things that we make. And hopefully, with enough of you guys, we can do cool stuff, like go to cons and pull up and be like, hey, what's good, guys? We're a podcast and we talk about fun stuff that you guys like, and we like to talk to you guys about fun stuff that you guys like too. Because as much as you guys get our opinions on stuff, we'd like to get your opinions on stuff. It's fun that way. When there's a dynamic, it's always great. I want to remember if there's any. Oh, yeah, and then there's a Patreon. You can always hit us up at the Patreon too. There's a tip jar in the description as well. That is assuming that you want to just do something to support the show. It goes a long way. We always appreciate it. And I think I always forget to mention this, but like 20% of those proceeds go to a charity of our choosing. So be sure to go ahead and do that. Whenever, as much as I want you guys to actually be able to vote on the charity, we just need more people to vote to do that. So, and we can't get people to do that for the elections. Slight political jabs, but we're gonna leave that alone. But that'll do it for this episode. So, you guys take it easy, have fun, enjoy your days, enjoy your nights, whatever it is, and have a good one. We will hopefully and definitely see you all later at a different time. So, peace.